My name is David Cathell. I'm here at Columbia and part of the Middle East Institute. And I have to say, I am extremely delighted and excited about our guest speaker tonight. We have Vuslat Sabanci.
Vuslat,
Dogan Sabanci. I knew I was going to do that. You see, I didn't go on. I know that. I knew I was going to do that.
They somehow have to
You see,
together,
this is what
right?
happens when you get overly excited about the guest speaker. And I think that for us, it's a real treat for a number of reasons. One is that Vuslat Hanım is an alumna of Columbia. She is also very much involved with the news media in Turkey, as well as women's issues in Turkey, which is something which is near and dear to my heart, as we've been putting on a Women of Turkey series here, and we will continue to do that. Beyond that, she went to Bilkent, if memory serves correctly. It does. And has been very much involved with all aspects of the Dogan publishing family. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Dogan news media group, this is probably one of the most important news groups in Turkey, and has been in years past and continues to be rather fearless in its integrity. And at one stage, the government saw fit to impose a very large monetary sanction on the group, which would have effectively put the group out of business. And to the Dogan Group's credit, they fought this thing, and I think largely have won. And it underscores that no matter how far Turkey has come in recent years, and I go back many years in Turkey, that freedom of the press is one of the absolute litmus tests that we have. The other litmus test that I do believe is incredibly important is that half of the population cannot be relegated to second-class citizenship, i.e. the rights of women and the opportunities of women throughout the professions, and equal rights under the law, and not having it a game system is very, very important. It's important here in this country as well. We're not there entirely. But Turkey has made some remarkable strides, and I think the two go together. Without an open media, you probably can't have progress in women's rights. And if you don't have either one of these, society really doesn't go anywhere. So with that in mind, I would like to turn the floor over. And please welcome our guest for this evening. It's good to have you
here. Dear members of the faculty and students of Columbia University, dear friends, it's really an honor to be here tonight. As a CEPA graduate, I feel definitely at home. However, when I walked in the campus today, I had a weird feeling. I was somehow, as an exam day, even though I'm here to give a speech, not to take an exam, I had this little knot in my stomach, which soon luckily passed away. There is another very important reason that makes this evening special for me, is that I'm going to be also addressing you as an IPI board member. For those of you who do not know IPI, IPI is an international press institute. It's a civil society organization who defends the freedom of press, freedom of speech. But the interesting thing is, it was established here in this campus of Columbia 63 years ago by 34 editors from 15 different countries came together and established this global organization in order to, I think with the belief that with a free press, we can create a better society for common good. So that's also interesting. Media, today we're going to talk about Media, free media as an agent to change societies, values, traditions. I will try to convince you that it does. It does work. Media is what I do. It's a big portion of my life. But gender equality and human rights is what I am. It's my passion, which I hadn't realized, which I haven't discovered when I was a student here. Now, let me take you to Khartoum. A few years ago, I was in the airport in Khartoum, which is the capital of Sudan, and it was almost 2 a.m. in the morning, and the airport was almost deserted. The only sign of life was a group of people gathered in front of a TV. And looking in the TV, I don't know what was so captivating in the TV, but that was the only sign of life. And it seemed strange. There was something familiar in the TV. There was something about the setting, about the actresses, the gestures, something very familiar to me. So I went closer to the group. It was in Arabic. It took me a while to understand what was going on. It was a Turkish TV series called Asmalı Konak. It was very popular back then. And the story in Asmalı Konak was about this Turkish traditional family. But the focus of not the focus, but the main character, a hero, was a woman. She had the absolute power of the family. She managed the relationships of the family, she managed the finances, everything, this absolute powerful woman figure. I was there for another woman's story, which was not a fiction, but a real life story. And she was also a very strong, very powerful woman. Well, not powerful, but very strong woman. It was, the story goes as follows. The few police, go into a restaurant in Sudan, in Khartoum, in the heart of the city, and ask all women wearing trousers to stand up. They all stand up, and the police takes them without giving any explanations to the police station. And they sanction the woman with 10 lashes for wearing trousers without any legal procedures. 12 of the women do not question this. And they go back to their home after the lashes. There is one courageous woman called Lubna Hussein, also a journalist, says that I'm not guilty and I want to go to court. I want to be in the trial. And this is how she distributes her anger and her voice, actually, through media. I received an email from IPI telling about this. I read the email a couple of times to understand what was going on. And then the next day I was in Khartoum in the trial supporting her on her journey for justice. For your curiosity, what happened with the help of the international press pressure, she was still found guilty, but it was fined instead of the lashes. But it became as a case in Sudanese legal system, and now we are hoping that women do not have this problem anymore. Well, in the airport, when I saw that TV and that group of people, I said to myself, now for the first time in those 3 days, my heart is filled with hope. Because whatever this is, any kind, you name it, tradition, social value, religious reasons that punishes the woman in such a way, it is bound to change if there is interest for this TV show and for that woman on the TV. As long as free TV is let in Sudan, as long as airways really travel in the corners of Sudan. A quick quick note about the success of Turkish television programs in our part of the world. Today, more than 100 Turkish TV series are shown in 40 countries, and they are translated also in their respective languages. Russia, almost all Middle East, and some in Africa, even in Eastern Europe, in Balkans. The actors of these TV series are seen as very popular pop stars. Most of them are even more popular than our Prime Minister Erdogan. Just like visitors, when visitors go to California, they run to Hollywood studios to have pictures taken. The visitors to Istanbul, if they've seen the series of Turkish series in their country, they really come and visit these mansions and have their photographs taken and sent back home. If you put the world map and mark the countries that these TV series are distributed, it is pretty much the same map with Ottoman Empire. Isn't this ironic? Well, but this time not with the armies, cannons, etc., but with Turkey's soft power media. But I think this is out of context here. So let me go back to our subject of discussion. The effects of TV series, especially for the Muslim world, for the Muslim woman, is enormous. Because Muslim women, Arab women, see a predominantly Muslim country, but the women are equal in the modern life, and they don't, they embrace and adopt the values of modern life. And in majority of these stories, women appear as players of modern life with varying identities, and they're able to select their partners, resist choices that are imposed upon them, voice their objections, and make their own decisions regarding their lives. They are free to make their own choices. And I hear from some of the non-profit organizations, women organizations in the field, that Arab women increasingly take the characters in these shows as a role model to change their lives, you know, in their efforts of emancipation. So if the Arab world, actually in a wider sense the Islamic world, were to transform itself and embrace values like democracy and rule of law and transparency, accountability, the road to such transformation definitely goes through giving women their rightful place and equal rights. Only under such conditions a true democracy can flourish. And we've been talking about Arab Spring, Turkey being a role model to Arab Spring. But we missed the point of woman in that. What does the woman really play? That's the difficult part. That's why we never covered that. Without giving the woman equal rights, it's really not possible talking about Turkey as a role model. When we take the Turkey example, with the establishment of the Republic, Turkish women were given equal rights in the society. Well, for years, Turkey did not do any more than that. Always count on the fact that voting rights were given to Turkish women before some of the European countries. But it's time to go beyond this. In the 1980s, the Turkish feminist movement started, and on education, on women's representation in politics and women representations in the workforce have been worked on through many NGOs. Some of these NGOs are powerful, very strong, but there is still a long way to go. Just few numbers. Women contribution to workforce is nearly 25. Even though there are great, it's number second in the world in terms of women CEOs. So that's a big conflict. the presentation, women presentation in the parliament has reached only 17% in the last election. This is really a shame. In terms of education, in the primary level, there is not a gap between boys and girls, but in higher education, there is a big gap, and women are falling back. Apart from this, on top of this, maybe as a result of this as well, domestic violence is one of the, I think, the most important problem, like in many countries around the world as well. One of every 3 women experience violence within their families. This is a huge number. Exactly 8 years ago, a woman called Gül Dünya was shot in her hospital by her 2 brothers. And the police, 2 policemen, were supposed to be waiting in front of the hospital room. They missed the murderers. Can you believe this? And it was an honorary killing, which is a widespread killing, especially in the eastern part of Turkey. But like a decade ago, because of the migration to big cities, we started hearing more and more about this. It was then a big taboo. After this, we and Hürriyet made a symbol out of it, and we started a campaign, domestic violence campaign. At the beginning, it wasn't easy because it was really a taboo even to talk about domestic violence. And we did have some discussions among each other because Hürriyet is also a popular newspaper. It's not a niche newspaper. So it had its own concerns as well, both because of its readers and also because of the editors as well. But in the end, we said that we should go for it, and it was even publishing and announcing such a campaign was to break a taboo in itself. Since 8 years, Hürriyet has been working on it through first of all, through a couple of things. Stories on violence are now chosen. We did many workshops with the editors to understand how we should cover the stories and what stories we should cover. Language is extremely important. I will come to that later. That's the most important thing, how you cover the stories. We brought issues to the headlines. We held conferences. We provided training to imams, to policemen, to 40,000 different occupations and people. And we also started Turkey's first and only 7-day, 24-hour hotline. And now, not only within Turkey, but from 13 different countries, women that are in danger, that have problems with violence, call Hürriyet, and Hürriyet puts them together with psychologists and lawyers and also officials like police if needed to secure their lives. As a result of this persistent campaign, I think the most important result of it is the new law that is passed by the Grand National Assembly. It is bearing significant sanctions on the issue of violence on women. The role of Hürriyet has played in this case is actually an example of demonstrating how media in general and how newspapers in particular can help create social change and thus contribute to the common good. And we can do this without compromising our traditional function of reporting news. Now, if I say we as media people tell stories to our readers and viewers, would I be very provocative? Maybe most of the editors wouldn't like to be called storytellers, but yes, we are. That's what we do in media. We do tell stories, sometimes news stories, sometimes entertainment stories. But which stories we choose to tell and what language we use telling the stories is important. To give an example, before we started this campaign, usually when domestic violence news was being covered in the paper, the woman was seen as a victim. And this word of being a victim used over and over and over. Being a victim, you wanna disappear under the carpet. It's an embarrassing thing. So we changed this. Now we're trying to put the guilt on the man, the shame on the man, not on the woman. This is so important how you tell this. So language is, I think, everything. Every story has the power to change the society for better. Admittedly, it's slow, it's not easy, one story at a time, but still media is a positive social change agent and can contribute to the common good. Since through stories carry themselves to the futures, media should assume its responsibility while reporting social issues. Great stories can create great societies. And any news item reported in this proper social context is a great story. We need more great stories and commitment by the media for social change towards gender equality. It really makes a difference. We've seen it and we are seeing it. We are seeing it around the world. And I think that's what we did in Hürriyet, and we will continue to do so. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Okay, now comes the fun time. You can ask questions, but I'm going to do what I always do, which is ask the first question. And that is that, do you find that technologies are helping, i.e. cell phones, cameras, and the like? And the case that comes to mind is the woman who was taken to an Izmir police station and beaten, but it was caught on camera. Is that, on balance, a positive, or does it actually create a backlash? Are you finding that it creates a backlash that maybe makes it more difficult, where you have cameras everywhere and you can put on the website, you can put on these clips? I know Hürriyet Daily News has done that. Are you finding this to be enabling, or are there downsides to it as well?
Absolutely enabling. I think transparency is, as much as we get it, we're better off. Of course, there could be downsides of it, dealing with that immediate issue, but in the long run, absolutely. Absolutely, the more transparent, the more open, the better it is.
Great. Yeah. Okay, let's open it up to the floor, and if you would be so kind, do we have a... Yes, we have a mic in. Okay. Those of you who have questions, if you could just introduce yourselves before you ask the question. So, I see a hand over here.
Hi, thanks for coming. My name is Melike, and I go to the New School for Social Research. I'm doing my master's in sociology. And I was wondering, you said that the TV series are giving these good effects on Middle Eastern women, in the sense that they're taking example of how they see the woman in Turkey and through the series. I was wondering, what do you think about those series as an effect on the women who are living in Turkey, to our people? What do you think about that?
Well, it has, I think that it does not give negative, I think that also helps. Well, for Turkish women, the reason I didn't touch on the effect of what it does for Turkish women is because Turkish women see that and has been living that, going through that since a long time. So they do have those role models in their society already. If we're talking about women making up their own decision, etc. So these series have taken Turkish women, not only these series. I mean, since the establishment of the republic. Many things have already taken these women to their mentality to a certain place. So whatever there's going to be further than that is not going to be a big step, but I'm sure there are effects on it. For example, there is a series called Fatma Gül about a rape story. I found it very, very important because after the rape, the men who have done this have never been, they were never happy and they couldn't get away with it. And some of them were in psychological difficulty, maybe you know it, some of them were in legal difficulty, some of them. So it is very important to put the projection on the men and see how their life grows. So I'm sure there are.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Yiğitcan. I am a first-year Master of International Affairs candidate here at SIPA. I'll have two questions. One is more like a criticism, if we can get some self-reflection for that. Now, the first one is, I know that Hürriyet is expanding to the neighboring region of Turkey, buying some other news outlets in those regions and in countries. When operating in different countries, in pressing issues like violence against women, can a news corporation have a policy across the board, all these countries, the same policy, like the same principles? Can you adhere the level of quality or journalism that you pursue on the issue of violence against women in Turkey and the same policy in Kyrgyzstan or in Russia? Mm-hmm. That's my first question. And my second question is, after starting living in New York for the past 5 months, and then as an avid follower of Turkish dailies, I realized that the quality of the internet journalism in Turkey is quite subpar compared to what you get in the print editions. And there's a great tendency everywhere in the world that we're shifting towards internet journalism. How can you? What's your reflection in terms of this, like the quality of journalism in the internet field in Turkey or elsewhere? Because looking at from here, the internet journalism in the States is quite, around the same level with the print journalism, but in Turkey, I would say less so. And I see Professor Halidi not, quite agreeing with that. Thank you very much.
Okay, answer to your first question. We are not acquiring media, content around the region. We are acquiring media outlets, but that do not have editorial content, but has advertising, etc. Through our TV channel, we are exporting our production series, like the Turkish series I told you, and these are just direct translation of the series in Turkey. I wish and I hope, because I see that there is a room in these countries, if really we can localize the production, not only translate, then it would have even a bigger impact. And there we should put the policies, then maybe there would be differences. But just a little note, Dogan Group has its editorial values and principles. For the first time, and these are, just internationally known values, but for the first time we declared that we will be pro-women rights and human rights. So this is something, for the first time we took a stand against something. So internet journalism, you are right, it's far behind print journalism. And the reason is, it's in terms of numbers, I think they are doing great in terms of unique visitors, in terms of their traffic, etc. But this year in Hürriyet, we are completing the Convergence project, where the newspaper journalists will start editing for the internet sites as well. I hope that we will see the effects of it for good journalism on the website. and hope to satisfy you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for the great presentation. My name is Bilge Erten, and I'm a postdoctoral scholar at the Committee on Global South in Colombia. And I'm an economist, so I will ask you first one from an economics perspective. When you look at the female labor force participation rates in Turkey, you see that they are very stagnant. And despite the employment growth in Turkey, we see that women's participation to that employment is actually low and it's not increasing. And do you think that that is a major factor that contributes to domestic violence, because women's bargaining power within the household is low and it's not increasing? So do you think that better macroeconomic policies would help women in that respect? And secondly, when you consider the rise of neoconservatism in Turkey in the recent years, when you look at TV series, for example, you see more and more women portrayed as housewives and people just making the household area mostly dominantly. So do you think that those values actually are shaping Turkish society in a less equal way? And do you think that that your media group could produce better TV series to influence that? Thank you.
All right, first question is women's contribution to workforce. It's very low. And yes, you are right, it's very flat over the years. I think the biggest influence to increase it would be if some government policies, some government subsidy were given to women in the early ages of the children to be able, childcare, that's the most important thing. Not only childcare, but also because Turkish families live in big families, and usually the mother and the father, or the mother-in-law and the father-in-law also live with the elderly people within the family. Also, that is also important. So women stay at home to take care of the kids or the elderly people in the family. So any support given in this field would definitely increase the workforce contribution. And that is the most, I think, influential one. Currently, the government, I know that the ministry is working on that, but there is no solid improvement yet. And yes, you are right. I do believe that domestic violence is a result of not only workforce, women's economic independence, but also women's independence in the society, etc. So it is a result of many things, education as well. So it is a big issue. It should be fought in every field, not only in one, but from education to economic liberation, to also equality in the parliament is very important. That's where the policies are shaped. In terms of content of TV series, I cannot say that conservatism is affecting the TV series already. I do not have any evidence that the women are being shaped, are being shown more like housewives. I haven't seen that, so I can't take that as a fact. But if it would definitely have the effect. So just like the example I gave for Arab countries, how Turkey's liberal, free woman is a positive example, vice versa would be a negative example, obviously. And it does affect the society, but I can't say that it is happening yet in Turkey.
Hi, I'm Metin. I'm not a student. I have attended this session because I was told you will be here today. My question is more recent, actually, considering the recent improvement of journalists in Turkey, which is, when you believe to the press, one of the highest in the world. Do you think the freedom of press is in danger in Turkey?
It is very, very unfortunate that we have so many journalists in prison. It's really a big shame of Turkey. A big shame of Turkey.
Hi, my name is Denise Rosenberger, and I'm an undergraduate student at Columbia, and this is my first semester here. So I just had a general question. What do you think about the women's rights in Turkey right now? Do you think with the current government, is there a shift backwards that with point like that it's too conservative and that women's rights are not that important anymore? Do you think that?
There are two things. In terms of political rhetoric, women, yes, our prime minister repeatedly says that women should do more babies and maybe become more time, yeah, I mean, 3 kids. And there is no rhetoric that women should be in the business and doing this, etc., etc. However, in terms of legal field, they did a lot. I mean, in the last 10 years, the laws regarding family, plus the laws regarding, as I just mentioned in my speech, domestic violence, sanctions against domestic violence, were all passed in this last 5-6 years. To pass a law is one thing, and to interpret it in the courts is another thing. We are not seeing negative things in the court either, but the political rhetoric is totally against.
We have one down front. While you're doing that, I have a quick question here.
Sure.
And that is that the way that the Turkish political parties choose their candidates is that a group of senior politicians get together and they go through the lists. And for instance, Istanbul has 10 members of parliament, 10 seats. And the people at the top get to choose who's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Number 1 in any of the 3 parties, the major parties, is going to get in. And the AKP the first 7 will probably get in Istanbul. I don't know of any, are there any women who are involved in making those decisions, or is this still a guy's game in terms of choosing these lists? And if that's the case, how is this ever going to change?
Yeah.
When you've got essentially the old boys network making all the political decisions and occasionally throwing in somebody, giving them a sort of seat, maybe.
Yeah. It's difficult. This is how it's being elected, and in the last election, we launched a campaign that we want equal representation in the parliament, and from 7%, it increased to 17%. So, I mean, it doubled, but it's embarrassing where it is. Anything below 30 is very low. We cannot say that there is fair representation at all. So it's very critical to put women in places that can be chosen, in seats, in the ranking that can be chosen. But this is a long journey. There should be enough women to be put in, and there should be less arguments against those women as well. And without breaking that, It's difficult, but we have to work again, for it. As when we say we, as media, as individuals, as NGOs, as society.
Sure.
Yeah.
You see progress, though.
There is, yes, there is progress. If you call it progress, it's
Glacial.
yes, doubled glacial progress.
Great. We have a question down here in the front.
Hi, my name is Eileen. So I'm alumni of 2011. I did my master's in computer science. Actually, first of all, I would like to thank you for support women's rights in society, because I'm a member of Women in Technology and Computer Science for Columbia University. So my question will be around social media. So you mentioned about the media role is a storytelling, and right now we see that each individual have right to tell their story and reach millions of people in social media. First of all, how do you think the media, the print media and the televisions will evolve around this? Like how do you see that media in the future will be like? Because social media is coming really fast. And also, do you think this will help us to run these campaigns around social media to get more attention? Obviously, it's getting more attention about many like the problems in the world. And what do you think about the women's rights? Running those campaigns on social media?
I think it's a great opportunity that social media exists, and to run campaigns within the social media gives the opportunity to a wider group of individuals. So this is wonderful, and we will see the effects of this in the coming years. We will see that that is also, we know how media organizations currently, traditional media organizations, do come together to start a campaign. We do not yet have many examples. There are some very good examples, but one of them being Arab Spring, that social media gathers together to launch campaign. I think we will see more and more of this. And I think how media organizations are going to evolve, I see social media like the internet today. You know, internet is like the electricity. So that's how social media is going to be. And that's how it will be within the media organizations and outside the media organizations. So it's, for example, for us in Hürriyet, it's a source of news, plus it's a way to distribute our news. So you use it both ways. And yeah.
Yes, Selen.
Hello, my name is Selen Uçak. I'm the executive director of the American Turkish Society and also a proud alum of Columbia, though across the street from Columbia Business School. I had two questions for you. One of them is regarding women in the media, not in terms of sort of how they're portrayed or the stories about women that are told, but the women executives in media and the journalists that are women. What is that situation like? And, especially, your sort of, media group being, very much led by women. How do you support sort of women executives in the media and journalists? And the other question is about, what is the interaction between Turkish media and, let's say, U.S. media in terms of sort of the journalists getting to know each other or their, each other's stories, or sort of just knowledge exchange in general in journalism. And I'm asking that, of course, with my American Turkish Society hat, and of course, also at Columbia, I feel like institutions like ours could possibly play a role in that interaction. But what is your view on, whether that interaction exists or if there's a need for it?
Absolutely, that interaction exists. Yeah, editors of players of media have been very open since many years, and open to meaning open to outside of Turkey. So through many NGOs, especially media NGOs, there has been great interaction, both with American journalists and also in European journalists as well. In terms of women representation in the media groups, we do support it, of course. And currently in Hürriyet we reached, I think, 43%, which is a great number. However, in the top executive positions, especially in the journalist side, we have many, you know, it's the number of women is a lot in the journalism. However, in the top positions, it's not as much as I would like it to be. For example, it's not as much as I would like it to be. I'm thinking of the, for example, the front page meetings. It's not 43% at all. So higher positions still need to be promoted more. However, I have a story. When I was here many years ago, I won't quote how many, I was an intern at the New York Times. And first time I entered the front page meeting, I think there was 17 journalists in the meeting. There was one African American and there was one woman. 3-4 years later, I went back to Turkey and I attended Hürriyet front page meeting. And there was, I think, 15. Out of 15, there was 4 women. So that's still not 40%, and we didn't go much further than that in the last years, but unfortunately...
You beat the times.
Yes, we beat the times.
Scooped them.
Well, I have a question too, actually. I'm Ömer Alatnoğlu. I'm a student at engineering school. And my question is, since 2002, when Mr. Erdogan came to power, considering the tax punishment that is implemented, that is tried to be implemented in Dogan Group, and the claims about Emin Çölaşan and Bekir Coşkun. I read Mr. Çölaşan's book too. There were some serious claims about it. Do you think media is more free in Turkey today than it was in 2002?
Çölaşan has nothing to do with free media, first of all, to start with. And I recommend you to read other sources as well when you look at a case. Çölaşan was not, he did not leave the paper because of any press pressure at all. No, I will take it further and make it more clear. No journalist has been fired or forced to leave the Dogan Group because of any pressure from the government. That is to put it on the table very clearly. And especially you mentioned Bekir Coşkun. Bekir Coşkun, I asked Bekir Coşkun, he shouldn't leave, please, why are you leaving? So it's totally, he got a good package and he left. But it's difficult to prove the other way. Is Turkey more free? Of course not. Of course not. No, our Prime Minister Erdogan is very clear in his declarations, and he makes all the declarations public. You know as much as I do. I know as much as you do of how he positions and how he regards free media. So government does not like criticism. That's for sure. I wouldn't say it's more free, but I would say that there is free media still in Turkey.
Thank you.
Thank you for the good talk. My name is Burcu Sarıkarademir. I'm a visiting scholar in here, and I'm also alumni in Bilkent University. So nice to see you here. When it comes to Turkish politics, it's we can think about two polar groups. What do you think the women belonging to these two poles are reacting each other when it comes to women's rights? Is it possible to talk about the women's rights as a one singular right, or does it depend on who is in the power and who is going to have a right depending on who is in the power? So I would like to learn how they react each other's right. Thank you.
I think this is a wonderful question because this is, I think, the most important issue that that is in the front of women's rights. In Turkey, there are two groups of women, as you said. This polarization in the politics is also reflected in women's rights as well. There are some feminists that ground in the Islam, so their talks, their arguments are all based on Islamic terms. And there are some other women that isolate themselves as secular women and defend those rights. Whereas there's only one woman's right issue. So these should somehow come together and form their own arguments, their own goals. And if we can manage that, and if that happens, I think Turkey's women's rights issue really can make a a big step. How would it be? How is it possible? I'm not hopeless, because in the last few years, 1 year or 2 years, we are just seeing some Islamist feminists in the media. So it's the first time that we are hearing about Islamist feminists. Those two seem like it doesn't go together. So I am happy about this open discussion. And women's rights issue was only the rights of secular women. That was how it was being perceived, because those were the only ones that talked about it. But I'm very happy that also more Muslim Islamist women are also talking about this. So as this increases, I think there's going to be a meeting somewhere in the middle.
Hi, my name is Hajar Ak. I'm an environmental engineer pursuing my PhD. Thanks for the great talk. Speaking of the topic, I was wondering, what are the chances in your media hiring hijabi, like you said in the board meeting, like 15 people, one was a lady. In Turkey, it was 4 ladies. What are the chances one of them being hijabi? Like, how many hijabi ladies are working in your media? Might be the other question. Thank you.
That's a great question.
There are no women wearing turban in the paper I run for, in Hürriyet. What are the chances? There is no application either. It's not that somebody applied and we said no.
So you say if they apply, you will, like they have the equal chances without?
Of course. Of course.
Hi, thank you for coming. My name is Öztürk Yüksel. Professor, as he knows, and international level, the media known as soft power. So in your previous conversation, you mentioned about Turkey's role in the Middle East and the Balkans and other countries. However, now, as you just mentioned previously, you said that in Hürriyet organization and the woman the woman that wearing the hijab and the woman that is not wearing hijab has the equal rights. But we all know that since 1990s, Hürriyet has not doing this at all, and honestly, we've been witnessing since 1990 that Hürriyet is the leading newspaper against the Muslim or woman that wearing the hijab. So now when we put these two pieces together, how, also in your previous conversation, you mentioned that rule of law and then the democracy and then the transparency and all that thing. So Turkey on one side is a role model in the Middle East and all the other countries, and the media is in your power, in your hand as a power, and it's going to be as a soft power, that's the term that called. And then you are, as a Hürriyet organization, not really being rational, but being towards the more secular, but not really embracing the Muslim woman that who wearing the hijab. How are you going to put all these pieces together as a 2013? Thank
May
you.
I ask you how come you know that since 1990s, Hürriyet against hijab? What does it mean actually, against hijab?
It's not against hijab. Maybe it's a misinterpretation. It's since 1990s, Hürriyet almost criticizing and being harsh on the woman that who's wearing the hijab. And since the application towards the government and then the application and many of the editors that working for the Hürriyet never ever defended the woman that wearing the hijab. So how you're going to make a comment about that?
Was there any sort of editorial content that would suggest that? Or I mean, was there within...
No, this is a general observation since 1990s. It's not only it's a retrospect observation based on my own observation that how Hürriyet put all these things together now is Ms. Sabanci is talking about Turkey being role model in the Middle East and being secular woman and Turkey is going to be a role model, but how you're going to be role model if you're just only taking one side but not embracing all the women rights? That's my point.
Okay, Turkey, first of all, we're talking about, we don't own all the TV series. We're talking about 100 TV series. And if there are other series that are also having good ratings and that are also acquired by other countries, that's good. But I find that your observation is quite one-sided. We cannot say that Hürriyet is against hijab or for hijab. That is, Hürriyet does not have, that's a religious issue, that's a personal issue. Hürriyet, well, being against hijab, where? Are we talking about, how much do you take being against or for hijab? Are we talking about democracy or are we talking about Republic of Sharia law? I don't know where you are standing. However...
Well, Turkey is a democratic country, so we cannot talk about the Sharia.
Okay.
It's obviously about the
So,
civil society.
Very good. So in this society, Hürriyet is a newspaper that is sold and bought with money. Okay? Readers pay for Hürriyet. And Hürriyet makes a paper that is good for the whole Turkey. And it is reflected in its circulation. So it reflects the demand of the society. And that's where we try to stay. And we do not have any political agenda of being against this or for this. And I think that this perception of symbolizing and putting institutions to one side or the other side is not embracing the whole society from the start.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
we can start with ourselves.
Thank you.
Please, you also ask this to yourself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cecile. I'm a Barnard student, and I was wondering why you think the Turkish government is afraid of a free press. Is it afraid of too much criticism from the press and that would sway public opinion and they would lose support, or is there a deeper reason that they fear a free press?
Could you repeat the first? Why it's not?
Why is the Turkish government afraid of a free press or too much criticism?
It's not afraid. I don't think they're afraid of free press or anything. It's government doesn't like criticism much. That's like many governments around the world. This government came in power with a lot of votes, so it's a very strong government, and our prime minister does not like to be criticized a lot. That's very...
Or a little. He doesn't like any criticism, really.
Depending from his side, he's already being criticized a lot.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I think we have time for one more question. I think our run time was until 8, so. Please. Yep.
Hello, thanks for the great talk. My name is Bahar Özdemir. I'm a Columbia University graduate. I'm a civil engineer. My question is about entrepreneurship in Turkey. I know you're a part of Endeavor, and I know Turkey is making lots of progress in entrepreneurship. I just want to learn the woman percentage in this entrepreneurship acts going on in Turkey, and as Dogan Group, how do you promote women entrepreneurship in Turkey?
I do not have the figure in my mind, but my observation from Endeavor Board, there are not many women entrepreneurship. There are some, and we are putting a different quota for women entrepreneurs to bring them on in, to promote them. But it's not as much as it should be. Mostly, I think maybe not even 30%. My rough guess. As Dogan Group, we are preparing an entrepreneurship program. It's going to be, details are not worked out yet, but it's going to be a big thing promoting entrepreneurs. It will not have women especially in it. But the other area that I think we should be working is social entrepreneurship, which is not in place yet. There are a few organizations starting to form some kind of a NGO, which I'm also supporting. And maybe their women entrepreneurs could also have a better chance. We'll see. Yes.
And we have one last question here.
More of an observation, if I may. I could not, Safwan Masri, Professor of Business and Vice President for Global Centers here at Columbia, and I couldn't pass up this opportunity to thank Vuslat for her support of our presence as Columbia University in Istanbul. So if I do have a question, it's a very quick one. It is for the audience, noticing how many of you are Turkish. How many of you know that Columbia has a global center in Istanbul? Okay.
Yes.
Not bad. Good.
Great.
So we wouldn't be there if it weren't for Vuslat and Hanzade and a number of other donors. So I just wanted to make sure that the global centers were mentioned.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Safwan. I would second that. I think that this is perhaps one of the most exciting things that's happened to Columbia in a long time. İpek Hanım has done a brilliant job. And it also, for those of you who have not been to the center, it is in the best part of Istanbul, and the building is absolutely stunning. And there's many, many things that need to be done over there to make it a vibrant place, and it will be a vibrant place, and Istanbul will continue to be a really fabulous city for that type of undertaking. So if you all will join me, I think that we've had a very, very interesting talk, and I think that the downside is that we'll have to get you back very soon and do this again. So thank you so much. Thank you very much.